Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We would now like to begin the Japan-Asian Economic Co-Creation Forum. I would like to thank you for a large turn-up today. I will be acting as your MC today. My name is Ayumi. Now this year, we welcome the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Japan friendship and cooperation, and throughout the 50 years, the relationship between Japan and ASEAN has changed dramatically. And for the upcoming 50 years as well, to continue this good partnership between Japan and the ASEAN countries, we would like to have fruitful discussions throughout the day to set direction for the future. For this morning, we have with us from Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area, which is sited in Indonesia, Jakarta, to host the program. First, in opening, I would like to welcome His Excellency Dr. Zulfikar Hassan. He will greet us with a video message.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. I am Zulkifli Hasan, the Minister of Trade of the Republic of Indonesia. I would like to extend my highest appreciation for Japan's support for Indonesia's ASEAN chairmanship in 2023. Indonesia also supports the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Japan friendship and cooperation. Indonesia also congratulates METI, IMEC, area and related organizations for organizing the ASEAN-Japan Economic Cooperation Forum. I hope this forum can produce useful recommendations for digital trade initiative and enhance trade facilitation for business actors, especially SMEs and ASEAN and Japan. Japan ranked as the 4th largest trading partner and the 2nd largest source of foreign direct investment in ASEAN. However, there is need to further deepen and expand trade and investment. This can be achieved through the implementation of the RCEP and the ASEAN-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. This also includes expanding the implementation of electronic certificate of origin for the IGCEP agreement for the digitalization, trade facilitation, MSMEs, circular economy, supply chain, and industrialization are crucial issues that need to be addressed to enhance trade and investment between ASEAN and Japan. Collaboration is the key. I invite Japanese companies to invest more in ASEAN and collaborate with our companies to facilitate trade and investment between ASEAN and Japan. I wish for a successful forum today. Thank you. Arigato gozaimasu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
His Excellency, thank you very much.
Next, we have from Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan, Deputy Director General for Trade Policy, Mr. Yoshikawa Tetsushi. Mr. Yoshikawa, please.
Good morning, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Yoshikawa Tetsushi, Deputy Director General for Trade Policy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. First, I appreciate everyone coming to ASEAN-Japan Economic Co-Creation Forum in this Saturday morning. This year marks the 50th year of ASEAN-Japan friendship and cooperation, and tomorrow, the ASEAN-Japan Commemorative Summit will be held here in Tokyo. I have been making various efforts in collaboration with ASEAN member states and business sector, including the formulation of the ASEAN-Japan Economic Co-Creation Vision and the Future Design and Action Plan, with the keyword co-creation for the propel us future with ASEAN. and I attended the opening ceremony of AREA's new Digital Economy and Sustainable Economy Center, or eDISC, in this August. I heard that AREA is now enhancing its function, including as the platform for decarbonization in industrial sector and human resource development. In this morning, experts will discuss the trade digital transformation and circular economy in the ASEAN region, while introducing the result of eDISC research. In these days, using of digital technology is essential in any industrial sector. In the field of trade, where large volume of documents are exchanged, people around the world started to use digital technology. With digital trade platforms, it is expected to facilitate trade and to increase productivity by reducing cost and enhancing efficiency. In addition, through sharing and utilization data in trade platforms quickly and securely, we can visualize the flow of goods and cargoes, leading to a more resilient and efficient supply chain. From this perspective, it is essential for Japan and ASEAN as a strong trade partner to work together toward trade digital transformation. This will surely benefit the industries and economies of both Japan and ASEAN. Next, the transition from a linear to a circular economy also has double and triple implications today as a way to address resource constraint risks, to promote carbon neutrality, and to accomplish economic growth through the creation of resource recycling market. In this context, it is important for us and Japan to work together and to accelerate efforts for realizing circular economy. I hope that today's discussions will lead to the creation of actual project for realizing the economic co-creation between ASEAN and Japan. Finally, I'd like to conclude my remarks by expressing my sincere wishes for further enhancing the relationship between ASEAN and Japan and for the further development of all of you here towards the next half century. Thank you.
吉川様、ありがとうございました。
Yoshikawa-san, thank you very much.
続きまして、
Next, we have a video letter from His Excellency, Mr. Satvinder Singh, Deputy Secretary General of the ASEAN Economic Community. Please.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests from both ASEAN and Japan, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and very warm greetings from the Secretary General of ASEAN, Dr. Kau Kim Horn, and all of us from the ASEAN headquarters in Jakarta. It's indeed our honor to welcome all of you to the discussion on the AREA Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy Center and the focus on visible initiatives for both ASEAN and Japan. We all know that both digitalization and sustainable economy are kind of the focus for today's sessions, and both of these are very significant developments and growth paths for the promotion of economic growth and for the mutual beneficial integration for both our regions. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2022, ASEAN exhibited resilience with a robust economic growth rate of 5.5%. In fact, the region's trade and investment had surpassed pre-pandemic levels, boasting trade amounting to almost USD $3.8 trillion in goods and FDI amounting to USD 224 billion in foreign direct investments inflows. In fact, we've become the largest recipient of FDI in the world, in the developing world. And clearly, we are also seeing consequently the projections for economic growth in the coming year, in 2024, even amounting to about 4.8%. Now, within the broader economy, the growth of digital economy has been most remarkable for us. In fact, according to surveys done by Google, Temasek, and Bain Company on an annual basis, the digital economy has already today contributing almost 195 USD billion in gross merchandise value to our economy in ASEAN. And this is a number for 2022, and we are projected to reach a number of USD 1 trillion US dollar by the year 2030, which is not far away. Now, it will continue to be a very major growth driver for the region. Therefore, the ASEAN economic ministers have recognized the potential for the ability of the region to propel further in digital transformation and integration, and that is why the ASEAN economic leaders have instructed the start of negotiation on the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement. In short, we call it DEFA, which actually had begun this month. It was launched, the first negotiation was done in the first week of December this year. I'm also glad to share that we had a very good first meeting at the DEFA negotiation, and we aim to be able to complete the negotiation, a substantive, comprehensive DEFA by 2025. The ASEAN economic ministers, they recognize that a robust, an advanced, and a forward-looking DEFA is expected to double our projected contribution to our economies by adding another US 1 trillion to the projected 1 trillion. So meaning to say, we could grow our digital economic space to USD 2 trillion by the year 2030 if we are able to succeed with a comprehensive negotiated DEFA by the year of 2025. Now, more importantly, the study by BCG that was done this year on the DEFA framework and the impact, it also shows that actually the LDCs in ASEAN are the ones who are going to be some of the largest economic beneficiaries taking full advantage of the new digital economy. And that's the case actually in many parts of the world, including places like India, where you've seen that some of the adoption of digital transformation, the cost of adoption, and the value that's being generated is clearly be seen for the economies who are joining in digital transformation right now. Now, equally important for us, ASEAN also has to urgently address climate change as well as decarbonization future in order to be able to become relevant and to be competitive and to ensure that we actually have a sustainable growth path for the region. In this regard, ASEAN is intensifying sustainability efforts, particularly in the economic sector. It has become front and center in our agenda in the last 2 years. Now, to accelerate the decarbonization efforts in ASEAN, we have developed a regional approach in the ASEAN strategy for carbon neutrality, an umbrella pathway for the region. The last 2 years, we have also been embracing the framework and implementation plans for the circular economy at the sectoral levels, where we are seeking to create a structured pathway towards a low-carbon future. In ASEAN this year, we have also adopted the framework for blue economy, which actually in the coming year, we're also looking forward to a much deeper implementation and monitoring. Ladies and gentlemen, the focus of today's session deals with two very significant mega trends, reshaping global landscape as well as disrupting the conventional thinking and practices. These are topics that are familiar to both Japan and ASEAN today. I would like to highlight some developments in ASEAN in the hope that it may contribute further in our discussions today. Now, with the adoption of the framework of circular economy for the ASEAN Economic Community way back in 2021, and now with its current implementation being rolled out at the sectoral level, now together with the adoption of both the ASEAN strategy of ASEAN neutrality as well as the ASEAN Blue Economy framework, we in ASEAN truly aim to synergize the existing sustainability initiatives in ASEAN as well as leverage on our structural advantages in order to accelerate decarbonization efforts in our region. Now, the economic arguments to pursue carbon neutrality are compelling. Enhancing carbon neutrality transition in a study that's done by ASEAN this year shows that we can bring it up to a value of an additional value of USD $5.3 trillion add up in our economic value to our GDPs in the region. And this in return could attract up to $6.7 trillion of new investments and generate almost more than 60 million new additional jobs by the year of 2050. Now, one of the initiatives identified under the ASEAN strategy for carbon neutrality is the creation of the regional circular economy supply chain that's going to be created. It's going to create the kind of the demand for valuable recycling, reuse in the region. I think this is going to change the way we are going to design our general manufacturing, even our global value supply chains in ASEAN in the way forward. Therefore, I'm pleased to note that one of the topics that will be discussed today is the circular value chains of electric and electronic equipment in ASEAN, which again supports the implementation of the ASEAN strategy for carbon neutrality. Now, in terms of trade digitalization, I'm also happy to share that the Future Design and Action Plan for Innovation and Sustainable ASEAN-Japan Economic Co-Creation Cooperation 2023 to 2033. This actually underscores trade digitalization in ASEAN as a key endeavor. Once again, this aligns very well with our DEFA negotiations as well as the focus in ASEAN on digital trade, which is a recommended key element to facilitate cross-border trade between our two regions by creating a seamless trade experience with regards to electronic documentation and interoperable processes. This also will single-handedly be contributing to decarbonization in a very big way to our businesses. Additionally, in partnership with the development of the government of Japan, ASEAN will also be actively exploiting solutions to enable the exchange of the electronic certificate of origin, the ECO, through the ASEAN single window. ASEAN has also outlined plans for a very comprehensive study to identify the necessary technical and legal requirements needed to enhance the ASEAN single window to better facilitate the cross-border digital trade, not only with the ASEAN member states, but now with our ASEAN dialogue partners, including with Japan. This initiative will complement the Digital Trade Connect network, which is presently undergoing the pilot implementation by Japan, Singapore, and Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reiterate once again our warmest congratulations to IRIA on the establishment of the eDisc. Indeed, today's session is a true example of bringing together policymakers, businesses, as well as academics across the region to collaborate and to move forward in the digitally driven sustainable economic growth of both our regions. I would also like to extend my deepest gratitude to Japan and the support that has been extended to eDisc. As ASEAN pursues digitalization and sustainable economy, we truly look forward to a lot more collaborations from eDisc platform in the coming months and years. Together, we have a big roadmap, a big amount of initiative to be able to be creating together in helping both our regions to be able to navigate the critical digital DEFA and sustainable blue economy, even carbon neutrality issues. All of this are going to configure quite prominently, as you know, as part of the ASEAN post-2025 new economic blueprint. With that, once again, let me thank you, and I will also look forward in hearing all of the insights from the sessions and the panel discussions today.
サトビンダーシン様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you, His Excellency Mr. Satvir Singh. We will now have COO of AREA, Mr. Hachiyama Koji. Mr. Hachiyama, please.
Good morning and heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guests, partners, and speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Koji Hachiyama, Chief Operating Officer of Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, ADIA. I extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Tetsushi Yoshikawa, Deputy Director General for Trade Policy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, and Dato Lim Jok-hoi, a former Secretary General of ASEAN. Your presence is truly an honor, adding immense value to the area, Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy, eDISC, visible initiative for ASEAN-Japan events. And I also express my deep appreciation to Minister, His Excellency Dr. Zulkifli Hasan, Minister of Trade of Republic of Indonesia, and His Excellency, Mr. Satibingat Singh, Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Economic Community, for excellent opening remarks. ADIA is an international organization established in 2008. And our main role is providing evidence-based policy proposal for ASEAN and East Asia by conducting research. Our recent main topic is digital innovation and sustainable economy. Digitalization is especially progressing in ASEAN, and business style and people's lifestyle are rapidly changing. And new policies are being launched one after another to further accelerate this recent of digitalization. Therefore, ADIA established Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy Centers. We call it eDISC in August this year to support these ASEAN initiatives. The role of eDISC is create fundamental system of digital economies and innovative business model as catalysts for economic growth and sustainable development. Today's forum is especially significant as we commemorated the ASEAN-Japan Commemorative Summit, making the 50th years of ASEAN-Japan friendship and cooperation. This forum is collaborate effort with the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan, METI, the ASEAN Economic Ministers, METI, Economic and Industrial Cooperation Committee, AMEC, and related organizations. We showcase two pilot projects that exemplify cooperation between ASEAN and Japan, which are the dissemination of digitalization in ASEAN and Japan and the ASEAN-Japan Circular Economy Initiative. These initiatives highlighted our commitment toward a more sustainable and digitally advanced future. Aligned with the future design and action plan for innovative and sustainable ASEAN-Japan economic cooperation, the 2023-2033, a key component is the emphasis of strengthening cyber-physical connectivity. This led us to the important topic of roadmap for digital trade. Yet, the impact of digitalization extends beyond individual trade procedure. Equally vital is the establishment of data ecosystem, where companies share data along the entire supply chain. This approach addresses challenges related to carbon neutrality, circular economy principle, and natural risks. We will present the action toward digitalization of supply chains, offering a vision developed through these dialogues. Additionally, it explores a concrete use case illustrating data sharing of carbon footprint traceability. Responding to the resource and environment constraints faced by ASEAN, the urgent task of transitioning to a circular economy takes precedence in the ASEAN-Japan context. This urgency led to the identification of electronic waste and used electronic and electronic equipment as a potential pilot project. The ASEAN-Japan Circular Economy Initiative, introduced at AEM-METI consultation in August this year, reflect this commitment. In connection with the initiative, AREA has conducted research and made recommendations on the circular value chain of electrical and electronic equipment in ASEAN. Therefore, we will also discuss the circular value chain of electronic and electrical and electronic equipment in ASEAN. Distinguished guests, partners, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. As I have stated, digitalization in ASEAN has far exceeded our imagination. And we believe that the industrial structure and people's lifestyle will change significantly over the next few years. ASEAN is currently in a period of transition, undergoing major industrial reform. This is a great opportunity for all businesses in ASEAN and Japan. And I believe that ASEAN hopes Japanese business sector to cooperate with ASEAN more to achieve sustainable economic development. I also hope that Japanese business has high expectation for ASEAN and will increase trade and investment more. ASEAN and Japan will work together. This is co-creation. I appreciate your commitment and time in joining us for this significant occasion. Thank you very much.
八山様、ありがとうございます。
Thank you, Mr. Hachiyama.
The next speaker is Senior Economic Advisor of AREA, Dr. Aladdin. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you. Your Excellency, please proceed.
Good morning, and it's indeed my pleasure to be here. I'm the Senior Economic Advisor for AREA, and what I intend to do for the next 10 minutes is to provide you some insights on the importance of digital transformation in ASEAN and East Asia, particularly highlighting the role of knowledge and capacity in such transformation. I think we all know that within the region, digital technologies are rapidly transforming ASEAN. And in fact, digital transformation holds a lot of promise for the region in terms of being able to establish a functioning digital economy. And in my view, such transformation, that digital transformation, is very important in a sense that it will induce more structural changes that would enhance the sustainability and resilience of our markets. At the same time, this transformation would allow for greater access to goods and services, as well as being able to understand sustainability in the region, including issues related to energy transition and climate change. There is a strong evidence within the region that the use of digital technologies, particularly during this pandemic, has actually enabled countries in ASEAN and East Asia to reach out to new markets and unleash productivity improvements. I think that is very important. In fact, if you look at the trends over the last 2 years, e-commerce activity in ASEAN has expanded significantly, particularly in markets such as Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam. And the expectation here is that e-commerce activity is going to expand more in the coming years. ASEAN is also one of the largest internet markets in the world today, with around 400 million active internet users. Similarly, if you look at digital payment in the region has become more popular right now. And the expectation is that digital payment would, within ASEAN, would reach to around $1.1 trillion by 2025. So obviously replacing cash as the preferred mode for payment. Across the region, again, if you look at ASEAN in general, almost all governments in the region have adopted robust strategies on how to adapt the new technologies, including artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchains. As mentioned by the Deputy Secretary in his speech earlier, by 2025, the size of digital economy in ASEAN is expected to reach to $1.1 trillion by 2030. And with the completion of the Digital Economic Framework Agreement, or DEFA, that is expected to further double the size of digital economy in ASEAN. Evidently, I think that would also help the region to increase the digital penetration in ASEAN from the current 9 to 11% to 26 to 28% by 2030. So what I'm saying here is that there's a lot of potential here in terms of how digital transformation would impact our region in the coming years. However, despite the rapid transformation in the region in terms of digital technology, I think the reality here is that the level of digitalization in ASEAN and East Asia is still not at the level that it should be or could be. The reality is that there are still gaps in terms of access, affordability, infrastructure, even in terms of talents and inclusion, and even the importance of policies or regulations. As you can see in the slide, okay, the ASEAN Digital Integration Index, for example, provides us with a broader picture of the current status of digital integration in ASEAN. In this particular slide, you can see that the most problematic areas are still on innovation and in entrepreneurship, as well as on digital talent. I think that implies that there is a need for the region to really focus on how to build capacity in the region to be able to take advantage of this digital transformation. Aside from digitalization, another challenge in the region right now is sustainability. It still remains a critical challenge for the region. Even though progress has been made in terms of the different SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, the reality is that there are still some setbacks in terms of the other SDGs. For example, in terms of responsible consumption and production, climate action, and the use of water in the circuit. As we all know, when we talk about the future of ASEAN and East Asia, it is not only about the development of the region itself. I think the more important consideration here is to what extent growth in the region is going to be sustainable. That's why I think moving forward, there is a need for a more comprehensive approach, the way you see it, in terms of addressing sustainability challenges in the region, to make sure that the region will remain robust in addressing all these problems as far as sustainability is concerned. The way I see it, given the importance of digital technologies in the region today, I think one critical challenge here for countries in the region is to be able to drive all these technologies to serve as solutions to different sustainability challenges in the region today. At AREA, we have conducted a lot of studies that show, for example, how the use of digital technologies can help enhance visibility along the supply chains. I think that is important because it would enhance the resilience of the supply chains in the region and would enable countries in the region to identify what are the different shocks in the supply chains and at the same time come up with possible solutions to mitigate the impact of those shocks. The way you see it, digital technologies are also important because they can help, for example, facilitate the transition towards circular economy as well as low carbon or low energy transition. In a sense that digital technologies are important, for example, to improve the product design. Technologies are also important to enhance the efficiency of resources like energy, as well as the ability of countries to promote green procurement energy. So all of these are important aspects by which technologies can contribute as far as sustainability in the region is concerned. Of course, the reality is that despite the fact that ASEAN and East Asia are trying to embrace the dynamics of digitalization and sustainability, and despite the fact that a lot of measures have already been implemented on the ground, the reality is that those initiatives still do not measure up. I think the problem here is that there are still a lot of problems within, in terms of digitalization and digital transformation in the region today. And I think one very important problem here is the widening digital divide. For example, if you look at the region right now, 7% of digital economy in ASEAN, that is the size of the digital economy in ASEAN right now, but almost 50% of that are actually concentrated in the urban areas. And if you look at the small economies, only 16% of SMEs in ASEAN at the moment are digitally integrated compared to the large counterparts. So what I'm saying here is that there's still a lot of challenges that countries in the region should be able to address, in addition to challenges related to gaps in innovation, as well as how to address the different conflicting sustainability challenges in the region today. I think recognizing this, okay, and recognizing also the need to better understand the different opportunities of digitalization and sustainability in our region, AREA has established a new center. We call that EDIS. This is the Area Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy Center. And the idea of this center is to be able to provide a platform, okay, to address both digitalization and sustainability issues in the region today. This EDIS, or this center, is also important because it will try to revitalize or catalyze digital innovation, and how that innovation can help different stakeholders in the region to promote sustainability development in the region today. As we all know, AREA is an international think tank. As such, we recognize that knowledge is an important component of any transformation in society today, particularly in terms of how knowledge can be utilized to better understand the different opportunities and challenges of digitalization, including, for example, innovation. That is why within AREA, we established this new center in August this year to be able to contribute to greater discussions in the region on how we can better understand issues related to digitalization and sustainability. This center, as we all know, we try to be very strategic and focused in the activities of the center. We recognize that if you look at digitalization and sustainability, these are actually very complex issues. As such, to be able to address these issues more effectively, we try to prioritize our intervention. As you can see in the slide, our priorities are divided into three. One is on digital trade. This is very critical because of the increasing market integration and trade in ASEAN and East Asia today. So here we're talking about the importance of e-commerce, digital trade and services, as well as global value chain. Another priority area here is data governance. When we talk about digital transformation, it is not only the movement of digital goods and services. I think more important to recognize here is how data is being restored, or whether the trust is there. And that's why for this data governance pillar of our center, we're looking at cybersecurity issues and how we can further facilitate the free flow of data with trust in the region. The third component or priority of the center is on innovation and entrepreneurship. I think the rationale behind this is that if you look at the development or growth in ASEAN and East Asia today, we need to be able to identify new source of growth. And we are of the view that innovation and startup will provide the additional growth, okay, for the region moving forward. That's why we look at these three important priorities as critical for the activities of the center. But how do we do that, Ken? I think that is the most important question here. How can this center deliver all the different priorities that I have mentioned earlier? Here we identified three important modalities, okay, in terms of being able to be effective or relevant in addressing digitalization and sustainability. First, EDIS is a knowledge platform, okay? We want to make sure that we create knowledge to better understand the complexity of digitalization and sustainability in ASEAN. But at the same time, we recognize that there is a need for engagement, okay, not only with the government, but as well as with the private sector. And that is where the public-private dialogue would come in. Thirdly, as I mentioned earlier, this center is not only centered physically, but we want to be relevant in terms of how the region is going to move forward in our development efforts. So in terms of research and capacity building support, what we have done so far is that we developed a research project framework. This framework basically identifies the 5 areas that we want to create knowledge on, from innovation and digital transformation, human development and governance of technology, and inclusiveness. But aside from the creation of knowledge in terms of research, we also recognize the importance of building capacity. That is why within the center, we're going to make sure that digital talent is being nurtured. We're going to organize workshops, seminars across the region to ensure that countries within the region have the ability to really understand and being able to participate in this digital transformation. So that is the first modality. The second modality is in terms of how the center can really help develop the startup ecosystem in ASEAN. As I mentioned before, the startup ecosystem is still a new area in ASEAN, but it holds a lot of promise in terms of its contribution to the region. What we intend to do in terms of developing the startup ecosystem here is two things. One, we want to make sure that we develop the right network within the region. This network consists of being able to help the different startup companies, the financing companies, the incubators meet together to create this ecosystem. But at the same time, we want to make sure that the people involved in startup ecosystem in ASEAN are being able to link with their counterparts in other regions in the world. Again, that is possible because of networking. But at the same time, if you look at the startup ecosystem in the region, there's still a lot of things that we need to understand about this startup ecosystem. That is why an integral part of our support at EDIS is to make sure that there is a strong research component, to make sure that we try to create knowledge in order to make sure that we're able to help the startups within the region. So knowledge is very, very important here to identify what are the risks and challenges and what are the opportunities in terms of the startup ecosystem. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, the center wants to be relevant in terms of what we want to do. And by being relevant, we want to make sure that we are trying to contribute to regional initiatives and discussions of issues in the region. One very important initiative right now that is happening in ASEAN is the negotiation of DEFA, the Digital Economy Framework Agreement. That will actually provide a lot of leverage for the region in terms of the impact of digital transformation. If you look at DEFA, there are different provisions under that agreement. But at the same time, if you look at the levels of development in ASEAN right now, there are still different levels of capacity across countries. In a way, I think those constraints inhibit the ability of countries to find a common ground of being able to identify or agree on the different provisions. What the new center tries to do here is to become the knowledge support, for the DEFA negotiators. In terms, for example, of providing research and policy recommendations, in terms of being able to provide policy papers that would aid the different negotiators, as well as to engage the different stakeholders in understanding what is this DEFA all about. But in addition to regional support, we are also of the view that country-specific support is critical here. DEFA is a new agreement that would transform ASEAN tremendously in the coming years. But we also recognize that there is a lot, that the region is very diverse in terms of capacities to negotiate this agreement. That is why, through the center, we're going to provide country-specific support through training, through the conduct of research and so forth. Finally, I think the EDIS is in a position to do that because of our network and resources within the region. Let me conclude by saying that moving forward, when we look at ASEAN and East Asia, two important challenges here are this digitalization as well as sustainability. In my view, these two important issues will figure out prominently in the coming years. So what EDIS is trying to do here is to position ourselves to be able to contribute into a broader regional discussion of issues related to digitalization and sustainability. Of course, the center cannot do it alone. We want to make sure that in ensuring that EDIS becomes successful, we want to engage the different stakeholders, the government officials, the industry, the academics, and everybody who are involved in this digital transformation of the region. Because if you look at it, digital transformation is not about having all these technologies. I think, for me, it is about how we look at the different stakeholders to ensure that ASEAN and East Asia are able to create a digitally integrated world moving forward. So if you want to access our work, you can just look at all these QR codes here, and you should be able to get an idea of what this new center is going to do moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And the next speaker is former Secretary General of ASEAN, Dr. Lim Jokhoi. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you. Sir, Your Excellency, please proceed.
Mr. Yoshikawa-san, Deputy Director General for Trade Policy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. Hachiyama-san, Chief Operating Officer of Area. Dr. Aladdin, Senior Economic Advisor, who has elaborated on the center. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. Over the many years of my close and direct collaboration with AREA since its establishment in 2008, I'm proud to see the strengthening of ties and collaboration between AREA and ASEAN. The numerous joint activities have enabled the regions to achieve a more integrated ASEAN community, while simultaneously upholding the shared commitments of EAS countries for the pursuit of open trade investment in the region. We in ASEAN are truly appreciative of the strong support and generosity of Japan's contribution to AREA. With its widening scope of work, AREA will continue to be instrumental in accelerating the ASEAN's goals and objectives for a more inclusive, sustainable growth and development in the next stage of the ASEAN integration efforts. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, that ASEAN's region is embracing the digital transformation. This is evidenced with the ASEAN digital economy being among the fastest growing in the world, which has been amplified by Dr. Aladdin as well as by the Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN earlier. Even with the recent market corrections, the ASEAN digital economy, worth an estimate of 1 trillion by 2030, is a dynamic, vibrant, and full of potential with the rise of unicorn tech companies. It is for this reason alone that ASEAN external partners, including Japan, will continue to be attracted to the value proposition that ASEAN has to offer. But ASEAN's policymakers today are faced with a very difficult task, not only in keeping up with the rapid technological change, but also to materialize the enormous potential of digital economy. As ASEAN comprises of developing countries, they are in urgent need to improve capacities to engage in and benefit from a sustainable and inclusive digital transformation. There are many challenges, but here I would like to highlight 3 main ones, which I believe AREA Digital and Innovation Sustainable Economy Center is well placed to play an important role. These challenges are tackling barriers to digital trade towards an integrated digital economy. Second, crafting the right strategy for the future-ready workforce. Third, building the right environment for innovative entrepreneurships to flourish. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement, which is DEFA, is a landmark agreement that will be the first region-wide agreement of its kind. A legally binding DEFA will solidify ASEAN collective commitments against unjustified digital protections, the fragmentation of innovation networks, and work towards a more integrated digital economy. The most important keywords for DEFA is, in fact, not only interoperability, but also an alignment. ASEAN is doing great work in operationalizing a regional-wide interoperable QR code payment system, which was adopted by most of the ASEAN member states, and more are needed to be done to ensure interoperable digital identity. But my observation is that ASEAN's policymakers often do not understand how trade digitalization and data policy intersect. Regulatory and policy alignment is necessary steps that ASEAN should focus on in building the necessary foundation for digital interoperability. In addition to digital rules and standards, ASEAN needs to be mindful of the dangers to society and the environment at large if we are not ready for digital transformations. The exponential increase in plastic waste and electronic waste with the booms of e-commerce is a very worrying trend, especially given the lack of adequate waste management system in ASEAN. And some ASEAN member states are already the biggest plastic polluters in the world. For the future-ready workforce, much has been said about the importance of upscaling and reskilling, but it is equally important for inclusive participation in the digital economy be made to a policy priority, particularly for women, differently able persons, and indigenous groups. Regrettably, inclusivity is lacking in many digital national plans of ASEAN member states. My third point is that ASEAN must focus on nurturing as well as attracting talents and skilled professionals and enable a new class of creative entrepreneurial engines to flourish. A startup in particular bring new forms of innovation and can help advance efforts to close the gaps by providing a better access to and delivery of health, finance, education, and address environmental challenges. But a startup success is also contingent upon the quality of entrepreneurships and startup ecosystem, which have been highlighted and elaborated by my good friend, Dr. Aladdin, just now. The latest global startup ecosystem ranking shows that startup ecosystem in ASEAN are at varying level of maturity, and there is a scope to accelerate the development of emerging ecosystem. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so what role can Area Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economic Center do in these three areas? Let me put forward three broad areas that EDIS should focus on. First of all, Area is well placed to help policymakers in crafting trade-enabling digital policies towards an open digital trade rules governance in the region. In the context of DEFA negotiation, Area should take the lead in bridging a common understanding among member states and between public and private, as well as civil society stakeholders. Capacity building for trade negotiators and officials can bring alignment, transparency, interoperability of the complex digital trade and data governance landscape. Secondly, foregrounding sustainability and inclusion as priority horizontal issue for digital transformation. Area's research should encourage adoption of digital technology to accelerate the transition to circularity by improving resource management, enabling new business models, and enhancing waste reduction and recycling processes. It is estimated that shifting to a circular economy could lead to economic growth of 324 billion and create 1.5 million jobs in ASEAN. AREA can facilitate this work by supporting the implementation of the framework of circular economy for the ASEAN economic community and reaching out to both public and private sectors on the imperative of circular business models. Continued advocacy of area by area is essential, not just the imperative of sustainable digital economy, but also on the importance of inclusive policies and entrepreneurships, skill training, education, so that all segments of society can benefit and given equal opportunity to participate in the economic developments of the region. Finally, EDIS can promote good practices and nurture a collaborative culture for regional open innovation. EDIS can encourage regional collaboration to facilitate exchange of goods, practices, and network among startup ecosystems, which are at varying level of maturity, as I said just now, connecting the various startup ecosystem in ASEAN, which will enable learning from each other's and will also facilitate startup expansion and global growth through direct collaboration. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of my thoughts about where I believe the area digital innovation and sustainable economic center can do a lot of good works in the current trade and economic landscapes. In conjunction with the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Japan friendships and cooperation, the establishment of EDIS shows that area can continue to be relevant partners for ASEAN in the new stage of ASEAN community building's efforts. I thank the Japanese government for the contribution of 5 billion yen on EDIS, a testament of Japan's trust and confidence in co-creating shared future with ASEAN. With the continuous support of area, the coming years will see the emergence of strong, dynamic, and more resilient ASEAN, enabled to respond to the challenges of uncertainties of tomorrow. Thank you very much, and Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you.
This concludes the opening session of the Japan-ASEAN Economic Cooperation Forum. Thank you for your attention. The next session on trade digital transformation will resume in a few minutes after we rearrange the stage. So if you could please stay seated for a few minutes. Thank you.
Please remain seated and wait for a moment until your stage is ready. Thank you very much for your understanding and cooperation.